project, turn this aluminum tubing to something like this or something like this. It's basically what it's going to be is just a little gate for you, or a gate arm that swings open and closed out of some aluminum pipe. I think it's 1.5 inch aluminum Schedule 40 pipe. Chris Wojnarski back again, March 26th, sunny Dunedin, Florida, 77 degrees today. And here's our little project, basically just aluminum gate. This might be a simple little video. I already cut it all to size, or most of my stuff, so I'll just make a little frame, show you how I fit it up, weld it, and blend it down, and maybe add a couple parts to it. But just be some tubing frame like this, pretty simple, mitered, got beveled and everything, so after I weld it, I could grind it down and blend it all in, and it'll be strong afterwards. So that'll be that. I got to make a little hinge thing for it, and a little plate, or the hinges that'll go onto another piece of tubing, another tubing. Not sure if I'll show that, but we'll make this and show you that we do not need a fixture table because being stolen. But just kidding. Anyway, I started to fit it up, but I'll show you from the redo, and I'll just do a little time lapse of it. Your dimensions, make sure they're pretty good, 45 on each side. And what I did was drilled a little weep hole right now, a little vent hole before I forget, and that's like a 1/8 inch, a little smaller, just to allow it to breathe, because if I try sealing this up, it will not work. So we shall get to it, and I'll just be using clamps and fireball squares probably. Yeah, fixture table is definitely not needed. This project actually came out really good and straight and flat and everything, so definitely not needed. I actually like using this table a lot. If it wasn't always so cluttered, I'd probably end up using it a lot more. But fireball square tools definitely helping out with this. I know I say that in a lot of videos, but they really help. All right, little back and forth measure and everything, but we got it. I just had to find my groove and everything, but I had to use a lot of clamps, find all the clamps where they are. People hide them a little bit. It's been a while since I used them, but if you don't have like enough reach to reach over like this, you can always take a piece of tubing, angle or anything, and just clamp it down like that, or like this, flat bar. And clamps definitely work better. The clamps a little tighter, but I took my square and squared them all together first, and then I clamped it down, and that held it down, and just had to open it up just a hair. I got like a slight little gap right there and a little gap right on top. I think when I cut it, it was a little off. So that was me on that, but it should be fine. And we're within our measurements. We had to be 34 3/4. I'm within a 32nd on each of it, and 15 inches that way. So it should be pretty good. I'll get some tacks on it. Probably get 3 tacks on it, 1, 2, 3, all the way around each corner, and I'll flip it over and do 1 on that, then I'll 4, then I'll clamp it down, and I can start welding it. And our Everlast is still at the repair shop. We're going on like a couple weeks now or whatever, but we finally sent it out last week or the week before. Still using Big Blue, 255 amps, and I can't really tell you what all my other stuff is, and about 20 CFH, and I'll be using a foot pedal, so definitely not that much amperage. Now it's all clamped down, just get a couple small tacks on there. I like to get 3 while I'm on this, while it's clamped down. 1 on the top, 1 on the outside corner, 1 on the inside corner, all the way around. Then I'll flip it and put that other tack on the bottom, and should be good to go after that. All right, so all tacked up, corner tack, 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 and tack on the bottoms. And this little bigger gap right here, I did beef this up like a 32nd of an inch, so hopefully it'll shrink a little bit, because that's what it usually do if you got a little gap like that. So either way, if it doesn't shrink, it'll still be fine, but it will most likely shrink. But anyway, pretty good. And I check my measurements, and I got the tacks on the outside, so it's a little hard, so that's to check your measurement. So what I did is just took a square like this, or you can take an angle or anything, and butt it up and measure from here to here, and I'm actually exactly on my measurement. Same thing for up there and over here too. I'm like a 64th long from here to here, so I think it's fine now. But that was on this side, so it should shrink, and we can start welding it. All right, one thing I like to do is put earplugs in when I'm welding now, AC, just so it doesn't bother me if I got other stuff to protect my hearing a little bit. But all clamped up, and it's always good to clamp your parts down if you can before you're welding it. That way it doesn't deform, because that would definitely warp a little bit. I even know it's a pain to weld around all those clamps, but it helps in the long run if you can. All depends on your job. if you want it to, if it's got to be good or bad, or it doesn't matter if it warp blocks. It all depends. But anyway, we'll get to it. Slow and steady wins the race with this. All up to you how you like to weld it, but pipe's a little trickier. It takes a little getting used to, at least for me. I'm not the master of it, but make it work. Okay, I'll weld it on half of it. Just keep in mind it's all going to be ground down, so it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to make them pretty. The only thing that might be left is just that little inside, like an inch on the inside that I can't get with the grinder. But let that cool down, then I'll flip it, clamp it down, and weld that side. If you can, it's always good to let it cool down before you unclamp it, and so on. That way it don't warp a little more. Sometimes it's okay too to help cool it down a little bit with a fan, depending on what your project is and how important it is. So it should be okay if I put a little fan in front of it and help it cool down a little bit. Sometimes you can take the air hose too and cool that down, but some people say it rapid warps it, or rapid cool equals rapid warp. Not really sure. If you know, let me know. But it works for me. When in doubt, sometimes. All the time, if I got something like structural or something really important to weld, I won't do it, but stuff like this, I think it's fine. I know it's a pain to clamp and unclamp your parts like this, but if you have something important that you really don't want to warp, it's good to do that because it can always warp like crazy. Got it all welded except for Big Poppy gap. I'll save that for last, and maybe I'll just do a little video of that and see if I can capture that for you guys. Not really looking for perfection on it. That's the only spot that might be seen, but it'll probably be ground down pretty good. All this, I'm just looking for penetration really more. I'm just shoving a whole bunch of wire in there and making sure it penetrates really good. So I really don't care how it looks. I'd rather have function with this. It's all going to be ground down and you will never see it. So another big thing too is with my stops and start. Well, I make sure I have enough heat when I'm going into it and just pushing that wire in. Sometimes you can see like right here with your bevel, it kind of sinks down a little bit and your puddle drops a little bit. That's like when you got like your full penetration. Kind of hard to explain without showing you. But anyway, that, and then when I stop, like to stop and restart and stuff, I like to taper off a little bit instead of just cut it off completely, because that gets a little cracked sometimes. And then when you restart, I like to start up and then wash back a little bit, wash some of that ending in, and then come back over it, and then add a couple dabs right before I'm ready to terminate the weld too. Helps prevent the fisheye and crater cracks too. So that's it. Enough blapping, let that cool down, and I can start grinding that down. All right, got it all unclamped and everything. Hopefully, can't really tell how wobbly it is because the welds are on there, but that's not the worst. I'm not looking for perfect. Now I'll start grinding it down. I'll just start taking all this down with the flap disc and try not to dig too deep into it. Then after that, I'll just polish a little green in it, and it should look good. So that's it for now. Just a flap disc. I think it's like 60 grit, designated for stainless steel or aluminum. So I just like to lightly go at it and not too much pressure, or just take the weld down and leave a tiny bit of the weld, then I'll go back over it and get the rest of that weld down. And here's a special clamp that we use. It's a pipe fitter clamp. I'll probably explain it in a minute, but it really helps with clamping stuff like this too. And just here's a little bit how I ground it. This is all with the flap disc. I think I got it pretty good so far. Nice and blended on the corners. And that's just one step. Now I gotta flip it through the other side and get those welds, and then I'll show you the next process. I'm just gonna skip the rest of the back side, and then I'll show you the next process after that. Okay, I ended up doing the insides of the thing too. It's not the best, not the worst, but I just did that with the flap disc. I switched over to a junkier one. That way I didn't take off the ends of that and ruin that new flap disc. Now, second process, I'll just go over all my scratch marks with this pretty much. Now these, if you have a variable speed grinder, these things will last a lot longer. That's one thing I'd like to get, is a variable speed. Turn the speed down a little bit and these will last a lot longer, because I think on regular grinder these are too fast and they get eaten up a lot faster. But just switch over and we'll start doing that. Just lightly go over and like feather and kind of blend it all in. Takes a little practice if you don't do that like that often, but same thing over here. Like this, you can get away with leaving the weld a little higher too if you wanted. Like I didn't grind it all the way down, like a little bit above in some spots, like on the outside and stuff. So make it a little stronger. You don't want to put too much pressure on with these wheels too. It kind of melts it in there. So just lightly go at it. Pretty good right there. Really the only thing that does is just smooth out your flat disc marks, and it's not as deep, so kind of smooth it out a little bit more, making the next step a little better. But now, next step is pretty much the last step. I mean, you didn't have to do this, that Scotch-Brite thing if you don't have to, but measure your longest mark. So like that scratch right there, your longest scratch. So just pick like an even number, like 3-ish, about 3 inches even on the inside. And go all the way around and see if 3 will cover that longest scratch. And if it does, then you pick 3 inches and just mark from there, 3 inches, 3 inches, and same thing all the way around. And then I'll show you in a second. We'll take a piece of tape and wrap it around that 3-inch mark on this side or whatever, and then we'll start polishing again. The blue painter's tape works pretty good. Just make sure you have a straight line going all the way around it, and we're on to the next. Okay, we are getting there. Here's where you can really lose your ass in this stuff if you gotta ask if they want this stuff blended or not blended, because this is taking like about a half an hour to an hour to do all this stuff. So if they wanted it blended though, that was part of our job, but you always gotta ask that though. Good thing to know. Details matter when you're making a quote, I guess. But anyway, we did that. So now we'll have even marks, which you'll see if you haven't seen some of my videos with some handrails and stuff or whatever, but we'll have nice marks and it'll look pretty good, and it's all the same length and everything, so it should be pretty good. Now what I'll use is I like to use this thing on a drill or something faster, but we have a drill that works pretty good. And these are the new ones we got, which I don't really care for as much. The Scotch-Brite is too yeah, oh, that one fell all the way under there. It's too thick, the Scotch-Brite, where it doesn't have enough flex in this. This is kind of stiff and everything, where the other one kind of contours a little bit better. But anyway, I use a little bit of both, and after that I'll just use a Scotch-Brite and blend it all in, and pretty good from there. Really, you don't have to go crazy. Just get like a little grain in it like this. So I go in one direction, that goes that way, that goes that way, and I'll get in here as much as... All of this is doing is just helping put a grain in and making it a little easier, so you don't gotta Scotch-Brite it as much by hand. Okay, so that was that, and I didn't get the scratches perfectly, like a line like that. I just washed over them a little bit and kind of made some little marks in there just to establish a little bit of grain, but there's still marks going this way instead of perfectly straight. If you want, it all depends what your job is, how the customer wants it, but it'll look pretty good in the long run, even like that. So just see, now I just Scotch-Brite it by hand. And here's where the elbow grease kicks in, where that wheel helps a little bit. Just doing this takes a little bit longer, but do it at your own preference. You don't have to go this crazy and overboard. And that is pretty much it. Here's one thing you want to try to avoid, which you don't want to rip your tape like that. Otherwise you want to go back a little farther, because you'll see that little mark in there. But for what this is, I think I kind of went a little overboard on this, but that's all right. And here's your moment of truth though. Could rip this off, but just like that. And that make it look pretty good. See, you still see scratches going this way a little bit, but it kind of blends into. But look at that. I mean, that's not even perfect, and that looks pretty dang on good. And then after I give it a little washing afterwards, it'll look really good. But that line, just having that nice straight line like that, makes it look like perfect. So, peel off all the stuff, and I'll give you guys a little show after that. Into something like that. Into something like this. So yeah, that's it for this pretty much. Could give it a quick cleaning afterwards with like some oakite and water and another little Scotch-Brite, just blend it a little bit better. I did wash it beforehand, but this aluminum was a little oxidized outside, but look at that. That looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just having those lines like that and equal and everything just makes it look a lot better. Maybe I could bring it out in the sun for you guys. This clamp thing works pretty good too. I don't know what this is. If anybody knows what this is and where to find these, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate that. I don't think they make them anymore, but it's a pipe clamp. I know that's what it is, but I just don't know the name of it and where to buy it. But it's a pipe clamp to weld like 2 pieces of pipe together. So you have 2 pieces and it just butts them up and makes it straight. So you could butt weld it or whatever. But it's good for stuff like this too. And you could just loosen it, stand it straight up. And if you want to grind over here or weld over here and stuff like that, probably would have been good to weld. But I wanted to keep it clamped down when I welded it. But pretty cool clamp. Now the only thing I see like that is it's like a C-clamp thing, and it has little bolts on the other end to put like your elbows and stuff on. But I like that. We got a smaller one like that, but can't find them anymore. And people ask about them, and I just don't know. But this is how it came out. Not washed yet. I'll wash it all afterwards, but I think it came out pretty good. What do you guys think? So kind of something like that. The flat bar will get welded onto there. This will get welded onto here, and then this will be clamped to the thing and welded onto the other 2, but they're spring clips like this, so it'll help close it automatically. That'll get welded like that. One up here, and then there'll be another plate like this, like a little bigger, fatter piece that goes exaggerated like that to close the other thing, and then we'll make probably just a little hole in it and something in the other one so they can lock it if they want. So that should be it. And then here's my little weep hole. I just want to make sure that that's the top up there, because if I try welding that, most likely it will not close up. And I can put silicone on it if I want, or a little screw in there or something. We'll see, or caulk or something, but just make sure it's standing up and you shouldn't have a problem. Supposedly by code too, somebody told me this, let me know if you noticed, but by code, when you make handrails and stuff like that go on the side of the road, they're supposed to have a hole in there. That's what somebody told me, and I don't know why. They didn't know why, but maybe in case it explodes or something like that. I don't know, all the pressure in there. But if you know, let me know. I appreciate that. Just curious. Anyway, enough blabbing, which I usually do. Sorry about that. But I think this video is probably going to be long enough as it is, so maybe that's that, and maybe I'll just make it a 2-part thing, and that'll be one, and then doing the rest of this will be the other part. But we'll see. So if it is, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm almost at 900 subscribers, and my goal is 1,000. That's when I get my monetization. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next one, or we'll continue this for that.